Hey fly tyers, welcome back. My name is Matt, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Now this next pattern in the Great Smoky Mountain series is called Miller's Nymph. It's another Pat Proffitt creation. If you recall, we did Pat's Nymph a couple of weeks ago. Pat Proffitt was a fly tyer from Sevier County, Tennessee. That's down near Gatlinburg. And this fly is actually very similar to Pat's Nymph, with the exception of the brown goose biot for a tail, and the front half of it is palmered with a brown hackle. Now it's not a very heavily dressed fly, but it is pretty heavy, so it is meant to be fished deep. Now I think most everybody is going to have the materials needed for this one, and I think most beginners can handle this one. It's a pretty cool looking fly, can be very effective. I think you're gonna like it. Let's give it a shot. There it is, in the vise, the Miller Nymph. This can be tied as big as a size 6 and probably as small as a 16. So I'm about right there in the middle with this size 12. It's a 1X long nymph hook. I'm going to put down about 10 or 12 wraps of 0.15 weight. Probably just a little bit more than halfway. I'm not really counting, but so that's about half the hook shank weighted. Now just pick this to your preference. There are no rules on how much weight you want. Do you fish it deep and do you fish it in fast water? Put more weight on it. So I'm using brown. It's a rusty brown, 70 denier. I'll put a dam behind the weight, take it up over it, put another dam in the front, and then take my thread back to the tail. Okay, now you'll want to hang your thread from where you're going to tie in the tail. And in this case, it's brown goose biots. So just take 2. I usually take 2 that are like right next to each other. That way they're the same size. So after you flip one of them around so that the concave sides are toward each other, just try to lay it on top. Get the distance you want, which is going to be about a hook gap. And then what I will do, and I think I saw this in a Charlie Craven book, is have them a little bit closer to you, to your side, and then that first loose to medium wrap, put it over, because then when you pull it tight, it might spin them around the hook a little bit. So, okay, in this case they did not, but I'm going to take a look at them, and those are about lined up where I want, so I'm good to go. Go ahead and bury the fronts up here to the weight. Let's snip off this excess. And if you got a little bump right there, you can go ahead and smooth it out. Maybe work on that taper or not worry about it too much, but take your thread back to where we're going to start dubbing the body. Put a little wax on here. Now let's get our muskrat. Good old muskrat. Now what I do, here's a small patch of it. You see the brown? I would just grab a pinch like this right here. You cut it out and then you pull the guard hairs out. And it pulls out pretty easily. After you've done that with no guard hairs, all you've got is this gray and light gray underfur. So just touch this on here. Doesn't have to be too thick. You can kind of just touch it on first and then roll it tighter. And probably about 2.5, 3 inches. We're only going to dub it up to half, and then we're going to tie in the hackle. So I think I've got about, that looks like about 2 inches of dubbing on my thread. So I'm going to wrap this up, and if you have to do a couple applications, that's fine. That is maybe halfway, but I'm going to put just a touch more on here. I'm going to go another couple of wraps forward. Okay, I think that's going to be fine right there. Now take your brown dry fly hackle. This is a nymph, but it is weighted, and we're not putting a whole lot of hackle on it. So I've got my brown dry fly hackle here. I've stripped it off, just a couple of millimeters of bare stem right there. I'm going to catch that in. And if you have to snip off the front of that butt, go ahead. In this case, I don't have to, so it wasn't that long. So Take your thread up here where we're going to finish the head. Now we'll put the rest of the dubbing on. What I should have done is left my thread back here. So pay attention. That's where my thread wanted to be before I put the dubbing on. Now you wrap your dubbing on. Again, about 2 inches, whatever you think is going to take you to get up there to the eye, where we're going to finish wrapping it. Okay, crowding the eye a little bit, but I think we can work with that. We're only going to take about 4 wraps of this dubbing. It's kind of a palmered hackle, but only on the front half of the fly. Did I say 4 wraps of the dubbing? I meant 4 wraps of this hackle. That looks like 3.5 right there. Let's go ahead and catch this off. Okay, now we can snip off this excess. And let's work on our head. So I'm just going to push that back a little bit and build up a thread head. Not too big, but it doesn't have to be small because this is a nymph and we're going to put a big drop of head cement or UV resin on it. So when you got enough of your head on there, just build it up as big as you'd like. We'll go ahead and put a whip finish on it. Let's see, about a 4 turns should be fine. Snip that off and do any cleanup if you have to. I've got a little bit of fuzziness going on right there. But I think we can leave this and fish it as is. Well, a drop of head cement on here. But yeah, the Miller Nymph, very easy tie, can be a very effective pattern. So that's all, folks. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.